everyone. My name's Mira Lane, and I'm the Senior Director in Technology and Society. I lead a small, multidisciplinary global team called the Envisioning Studio, and we work on imagining new possibilities of technology to benefit people in society. I am delighted to welcome my friend and our next speaker, Refik Anadol. He is a world-renowned media artist. He uses AI as his paintbrush and data as his pigment. He creates immersive, creative, beautiful experiences. He's a pioneer in this field. And he's a former artist in resident at Google's Artist in Machine Intelligence program. He's partnered with institutions like MIT and NASA, the Grammys, the World Economic Forum. He's partnered with Rolls-Royce and Chanel, and even indigenous communities like the Yawanawa in the Brazilian Amazon. And I had the opportunity of seeing Refik's first solo exhibit in the UK a few months ago. It was breathtaking. It was a love story to nature. And to that, let's welcome Refik Anadol.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so good to be here with you. Thank you, Google I/O and everyone inviting me. And I'm so excited for many reasons because of the pioneers in the stage and the people who have been pushing the idea of imagination for many of us like artists and creators. So I'm a media artist and director and originally from Istanbul, Turkey, where I got so inspired by the idea of when the West and East connects. I think as a child, I believe this idea of how nature connects cultures and emotions geographically, physically, emotionally. I feel like the water here, Bosphorus, is one of the reasons I am in love with the idea of connecting physical and the virtual worlds. So today, I would like to share you my journey and how many things I hope in the next century will happen, but how we can think about machine as a collaborator is became a very much a starting point. I was 8 years old, got my first computer. My mom just gifted a machine that's finally an idea that not a friend maybe right now, like AI is becoming, but the idea of programming very early or playing with games very early, I believe was where I found this idea of finding human in non-human. And last literally many years, I'm super inspired by also science fiction. But as a child, when I watched Blade Runner, as we all know, as a child mind and mindset, we maybe not only see the beauty and the utopia and the positivity, but it's really what I was trying to hold into my heart was how I can still keep the life and the journey. Even the most advanced technologies can bring us inspiration, joy, and hope. So this movie is not only just like very important, but also very important to say that I am not alone. The dream was to open an art and design studio that truly imagines what is beyond reality. And I'm so happy to say that these are my giants. We are in Los Angeles, California, and now we are 20 people, can speak 15 languages and 10 countries. And it's very important to mention this because in the age of machine and human creativity, I think there is more and more humans. So because these are like not only just a one human experience, it's a collective experience. And last especially 9 years, which our studio right now practicing in this idea of using data as a pigment. I was 2008 as an undergrad, and also thanks to my mentor, Peter Weibel, which we lost recently, he truly allowed me to push this concept of data painting. And when I think about data, I don't just see numbers. I just see a form of memory. And this memory can truly take any shape and any form. And when we liberate the idea of art making from the Newtonian constraints, I think that there's a world that we can imagine. And that world, with blending with technology, light, and eventually data and AI, I found that there's a whole new world of imagination. So our work specifically focuses on public art that belongs to everyone, and specifically focus on the imagination of data pigmentation, data sculptures, performances, things that I think in the art world somehow not pushed forward yet, but hopefully with technology, this will be also a part of it. And especially last 16 years right now, the whole idea of like not only focus personal data, but look at the collective memories of humanity. And I do believe that it's possible to think information or data, nature, heartbeats, skin conductance, brain data, machines interconnected like information, and many others. So I found this joy that when we push these concepts in different scales and different worlds, especially if we don't just worry about art only belongs to a gallery or museum. When the art goes out of those buildings and spaces, I found so much possibilities. Our work is in hospitals to give hope. Our works are at schools to give inspiration. And this is, I think, where I found that true liberating of art in the age of data, technology, and AI. So one of the reasons today I would like to show some of the work that sometimes digital artists, like we are not well known in the many spaces. When we think about digital artists, sometimes we don't maybe imagine what happens behind the scenes and how this journey starts. So today I would like to share several concepts that I believe is important in the age of AI and how we started, and most importantly, how we use machine learning algorithms in a way that I think may be different. So one of the things that I want to remind everyone that Blaise Agüero-Arcas said, like the invention of applied pigments, printing press, photography, and computers, we believe machine intelligence is an innovation that will profoundly affect art. Blaise, also a wonderful Google friend, has literally pioneered and invented this moment in 2016 February in San Francisco in an event at Gray Area. It was the very first, as far as I know, public event Google engineers and creators was in an event to talk about generative AI, I think, very first time publicly. And I'm so grateful that event, with Mike Tyka, Kenrick McDowell as well, I became the first artist in residence in an artist and machine intelligence group. So 8 years ago, being able to work with AI is a fascinating feeling. And right now, I feel like it's 8 years, the speed of like change and innovation. But for the art context, it's a whole new world. So I'm very grateful for this residency that allowed me and my team to think about neural networks, to think about machine intelligence, and really push forward this idea. And the first project we focus on the idea of library of the future, inspired by the Borges. And it was this idea of what happens if we take an open source library in Istanbul, by the way, thanks to our creator Vasif Kortun, and we look at the idea of if a machine can learn, can it dream? Can it hallucinate? And it was a very fascinating experiment, as you may see in a physical and virtual world. We try to think about how we can imagine when we go to a library where we learn a lot of things, and how we can think this space as a new canvas. And in these experiments, I think I'm still obsessed with this concept of machine hallucinations. This idea of AI data paintings, AI data sculptures, and performances became a new body of work. And last 8 years, we tried to look for many things, but the first thing was, on the very left, by the Ian Goodfellow, also another wonderful Google friend and pioneer that inspired this generative adversarial network, which we train, I guess, 1.7 million documents. What I found so inspiring is, if one day, if machine can dream, I thought that, again, liberated from the Newtonian physics, what happens if we turn it into these pigments, a pigment that doesn't dry, that perhaps always take a shape, a form, a change. And the last couple of I guess 8 years now, the last couple of challenges we went through is last 8 years, look at the collective memories of humanity. For example, nature, culture, urban space. We've worked with more than 4.5 billion images and more than 100 years of sound data, and really try to collect and train data, and again, many of them in Google Cloud, and very grateful that this happened in that time. We really pushed forward this idea. And what was really got so inspiring, I think Carl Sagan also mentioned very well, imagination will often carry us to the worlds that never were, but without it, we go nowhere. As a studio, I thought that this is just a great start point, but what else can we go from somewhere from here? So last 8 years, one of the topics that I'm so inspired is the idea of the data universe. The information behind machine intelligence is a fascinating world. Sound, image, text, and many information. I see them as sculptures. They are like literally six-dimensional sculptures. What we are seeing here, for example, Rumi's Mesnevi in 19 languages, read by 3 different AI algorithms. They are sorted by 6 dimensions, X, Y, Z, and RGB coordinates, but I'm seeing them like this type of like incredible forms of 3-dimensional representation of how we can understand collective memories. Or here Mozart, his entire repertoire, again, understood by the embedding system and looking at them in a different perspectives. The other part that I got so inspired and excited is the idea of embedding AI into architecture. I do believe architecture is beyond just concrete, glass, and steel. And I have been so fortunate and grateful that I was able to work with Frank Gehry, Zaha Hadid, and Gaudis, and many other pioneers in the field. And I really love this idea of that what happens if we truly think about architecture as a system, as a form of canvas. Also grateful for Doug Egg and Magenta team and Adam Roberts and Jesse Engel. We were able to create this artwork to celebrate 100 years of LA Philharmonic in downtown Los Angeles. This building, Frank Gehry's cultural beacon, was the 100-year celebration for LA Philharmonic, and we were able to take the 100 years of every single music, image, text that has been performed in this beautiful context and celebrate it in the form of free, open public art in downtown Los Angeles. And for this project, we learned so much that there is an incredible possibilities of imagination if we truly connect the data, the architecture, the AI, and the light as a material. And the other part of our research was the idea of what happens if we step inside these machine dreams. And there is so much value in physical world that I don't believe we fully understand what happens if we connect physical and virtual worlds. Last 10 years, we look at the patterns of machine hallucinations and try to connect the walls, the ceilings, the floor, the places that collectively together we can feel and experience the imagination. And there's so much, I think, possibilities with this idea of connecting physical virtual worlds. And I think when we embed AI into architecture, there's a whole world of imagination. So I am super obsessed and excited, very Blade Runner, but still going beyond what else we can do with that. And the other part that may be very important for us is speculating the idea of living architecture. For example, what we see here, the building of Antonio Gaudi's Casa Batlló in Barcelona. We are watching right now, and literally data algorithm from the cloud coming to the middle is visualizing the rain data. On the right side, the wind data. On the left is visualizing the humidity data. The concept of, I think, living architecture is a fascinating, a new kind of seeing through the physical reality. And most importantly, not only this, bringing people together. So last year, we were in Barcelona to activate this beautiful building, the legacy of Gaudi, to honor his legacy, to honor his genius by using his data with AI to transform his legacy and remind us that even in the age of AI, we can still remember the importance of the heritage, but we can still activate these surfaces and forms and go beyond what we can see. This piece, by the way, also running in a little Google Cloud that real-time getting data. So the performances are each is unique, never repeat, and they have been performed in the public space for free and open to anyone, any age. And most importantly, I guess, it brought 65,000 together. And it was a fascinating feeling that how public art can truly connect us together. And in the age of machine intelligence, I think there are many stories to tell around this topic. And recently, I'm so grateful that the Sphere team at Las Vegas also invited to become the first artist in residence. And this building is one of the most exciting forms I think we can imagine as artists, literally taking that two-dimensional machine hallucinations and wrap around like a rectangular imagination, turn that machine hallucinations in real time, by the way, the weather data, and or like pre-computed, and transform the world's, I guess, largest data sculpture, and then really look at this information in the age of AI and architecture from a fresh perspective. So there's so much, I think, there in architectural realm. And the other part I'm really inspired is the idea of our mind, our consciousness. I think it's a fascinating place that right now to really understand our memories, emotions, and dreams. Always believe in half human and half machine collaboration. Over the last 9 years, we also look at information, for example, Human Connectome project, which is 6,000 people's open source data. We look at the idea of emotion as a form of art making. Here we are seeing inspiration and joy and hope in the form of three-dimensional representations, looking collective emotions of Human Connectome project datasets. And most importantly, generative AI and data art can be also very powerful, very impactful. This piece is called Sense of Healing, auctioned at UNICEF for 1.7 million euro and help children mental health. So we have been truly working with across different concepts to be sure that data and AI not only just becomes a technological feature for humanity, but we can also turn this into a profoundly exciting and helpful experiments and experiences in different scale and different concepts. So we are very grateful that 5 children brain data from the Lausanne Hospital, we were able to create this form to celebrate the power of healing and bring the hope to the UNICEF community. And then the last part that I'm so inspired is this truly, I guess, to me, I hope for many of you, our most intelligent thing we have in life is nature. For artists, for many centuries, nature is the most inspiring, most exciting form of living creatures that I think an infinite world. And in our work last also 8 years, trying to preserve nature as well. And one of our collaboration with Google AI Quantum team with Hartmut Newman and his wonderful team, we were able to also visualize the quantum circuit bit, which was there like a research and was able to generate a generative adversarial network that was fed through the quantum circuit depth unique noise patterns that was able to create, I guess, this subatomic universe like Hugh Everett's many-worlds interpretation concept and turn it into an artwork. But also, this idea of nature that transforms pigmentation is an infinite possibilities. So one of them was this idea of like not only letting machine to dream flowers of the world, but also the question was what happens. This is, by the way, 4 years ago, the question. What happens not only seeing but hearing nature, that we can also smell these AI dreams? So 4 years ago, thanks to Eric Saracchi, our former CTO of Firmenich, and many wonderful supporters, he allowed us to go a little bit deeper in this concept, and we were able to create an AI scent machine by training on 500,000 scent molecules that look at our AI outputs that come up with new formulas. And this was turned into an also an immersive environment that you can step inside this living archive, a living library, where it can constantly and also all the time can dream new flowers and possibly new scents and the feeling of being inside the machine dreams. Or the same idea can be also used in the opera, in performing arts. We were here like exploring the same AI model, this time in real-time inferencing, and try to create a connection between the beautiful music and the environment and the stage design as well. And last year, we also learned that generative AI can also support to talk about things that are very challenging in the World Economic Forum. So last year, we learned that the corals, as we know, the climate change is affecting the world and the nature and profoundly. And one of the challenges was corals are dying rapidly. And what was the quest was, can we bring attention to the world leaders by training maybe an AI on the corals, even speculate a possibility of reconstructing what we lost. So I'm so happy to say that this is also trained on Google Cloud on a sustainable energy for 135 million images of underwater, and we generate Coral Dreams project that are not just shiny pixels, but truly 3D printed into a form to possibly give a life back in places where we lost corals. And I'm so happy to say that art sometimes takes more attention in a world that sometimes we lose our attention. And I'm so happy to say that generative AI and collaboration like Google Cloud and beyond, we can generate truly profoundly tangible and quantifiable impact. And this project is also very, I guess, important in the age of AI, that we are seeing wonderful activations and activities and imaginations around machine intelligence. So I'm so grateful that almost 3 years ago, Museum of Modern Arts in New York, our curators Paolo Antonelli, Michelle Ko, and my hero and mentor Casey Rias invited to challenge the idea of a new concept by using 138,000 archives of MOMA, Museum of Modern Arts. It was a fascinating challenge at pandemic, and when the world was closed, museums were closed, as an artist, it was a fascinating possibility of imagining what happens if we take this GitHub, open source data already in the GitHub, the entire archive, that we can speculate a new form of art. And what was also very exciting to me is what happens this artwork as a dialogue with the public. In this context, we have a microphone and a camera and a weather station. The artwork is every single moment receives this information and have been producing new type of dreams and across the 1 year of exhibition. And there was another dedicated artwork next to the artwork, which I'm calling it data anatomy, that people were able to see what exactly machine dreams happening in which formats of like which embedding space the machine possibly seeing the dream, what type of data information such as weather, like a rainy day, windy day, or a sunny day versus a very loud day or a calm day in the museum, reflecting back to the artwork and has a dialogue instead of just a monologue, which is a very, I think, exciting part of it. And I'm so grateful to say that the artwork received close to 3 million people, and the average viewing experience based on our understanding was 38 minutes. That was a fascinating learning because finally, when the art world was skeptical about digital art, there was this moment of reaction from the institution to remind us that there are people like myself dreaming about this type of information that transforms into new narratives of humanity. And I'm so grateful that this received a significant response from the public, but most importantly, artwork became the first generative AI piece in the collection of MOMA and gave a very positive response to artists around the world that this can be a medium, this can be a new type of imagination, and this is a positive response to many artists practicing in this field. And after these experiences around the world, that I learned that there's so much positive in very important topics that we can go beyond this. And I'm so grateful that around the world we receive these super exciting responses. But possibilities for me comes with responsibility. And this is the reason we thought that me and my partner, Efsun, we thought that we can maybe take this to another level after 10 years of experience. So we are right now working on our next dream. We call it Dataland. Dataland is a form of AI museum, but please don't maybe imagine like right away when the museum keyword comes. But there are people like myself who have been practicing around this field that I do believe that we can do a lot of new quantification about this field. And I'm imagining that what happens when we bring together wonderful minds and what happens if we can imagine a new type of art that I believe can make a more impact than our humble studio and really make it around the world. And I'm so happy to say that for this project, we thought that we can do something really much different as a collective and bring all our wonderful friends like Google and do something special. So what we try to say for this project is, starting last year, we want to create a large nature model. It's pretty much a large language model thinking, but it's a little bit more different. As we know, current AI is heavily focused on human reasoning and human intelligence, and I do believe that nature has its own context and its own reality. And for this purpose, last year we started this project, and I'm so happy to say that wonderful data partners love the project and its open source context and education and research. We received incredible information across the world, reaching more than 500 million images, sound, and text as well. And I'm so happy to say that this data finally becoming at the Google Cloud and a wonderful partnership. And this, by the way, really, really heavy work as a small art studio. And I'm so grateful that Google and Google Cloud that we are able to use this research, this process in the cloud, and sustainable energy, by the way. We are working very closely with the team to understand what we're exactly doing and then really create something exceptional for a gift to humanity. And to add more to this value, we also physically going 16 rainforests around the world and collecting our own data to contribute to science, to share publicly, to open source this data for researchers, for education, for people who loves nature, who wants to learn nature. But the whole idea here is to be the voice of the nature. So to truly bring back this wonderful relation that we as humanity, as nature, and remind us how important nature is, to just love it as much as we can. And this is a very fascinating research process at the moment. And also, as you see, the data is open source, it is coming from all these incredible sources. We have been doing lots of activation and different types of fun, demos over the time. And I'm so happy to say that here in Mountain View, in Google collaboration, we have been right now doing so many research. And I'm so grateful for the support from DeepMind to many other friends at Google AI, helping us, teaching us how to truly do this complex research. And also, I want to show you some examples. Again, these are all open source research studies from our open source AI models, and we have been able to create in 1 year very exciting, almost realistic outputs. None of them are real looking, but they are scientifically accurate, 2.5 million species you can see here, and I believe this can be a fascinating education and research tool, but also for art making. And what is also so exciting is we have so many different forms of outputs. We see here landscapes, for example. I mean, so fascinating to think rainforests are the lungs of humanity. And we can think not only just real, but also art making, right? We have some sort of dreamy spaces. And even what we experimented last year is what happens if we take these two-dimensional images that we can hopefully step inside that world, see, hear, and hopefully smell. And that's, I think, what we are experimenting right now. And I am calling this field right now generative reality. And I'm happy to hear your inputs, because I do believe that we have something new here with AI, with imagination. And I think we can be kind of feeling and seeing and hearing and smelling and touching and tasting a whole new universe. And I do believe that this may be a new birth of a new movement and also new idea of art making. And also, we have beautiful flora systems. We also explore text-to-video experiments. So much, I guess, of things can be done in that universe, which we see the video. And I'm sure there will be so much things can be done when we think nature as an input for AI that I believe we will find so much fun and inspiring outputs. On the fauna side, of course, we have beautiful, at World Economic Forum this year, we opened the World Economic Forum with all the animals of Amazonia. We especially focused rainforest, and we had these beautiful creatures that we were able to generate and tell the world leaders how important this space And for our audio research, we have 250,000 all the birds of Amazonia here with Cornell Lab that thanks to them, we were able to help the researchers by using AI, by clustering and hearing and seeing the complexity of nature to think that what can we do with this incredible information, bring attention, again, love to nature. And in this data, there is one thing that is very different than any of this information. One of the reasons I'm so inspired with this type of, or part of my life is pretty much not necessarily only data or AI. This is a bird called Chana, and this bird doesn't exist in any AI neural networks. Chana is a name, a special bird, a spiritual bird, a name given by the Chief Nishiwaka and Chief Bhutani. They are the indigenous leaders, spiritual leaders, living in Amazonia, in Acre. There are only 1,000 people, but they have been living in the forest with harmony, with love and respect to nature for thousands of years. They are my mentors. This excitement that I was sharing with you about the nature, that I learned 4 years ago from them, what does it mean to live in a nature? And they are so important to me because I learned so much from them that I couldn't find in any documentary, a book, a story that I read. And this is a name given to me by them. And it's so special because I learned so much when I shift my perspective at data as just a point. I was hosted by them and my partner in beautiful Amazonia in Acre in Brazil. And we went through this very challenging road and land to their beautiful village. And we connect with the family and have a very special relationship. I became one of their family members. And what I learned was something so special, that I understand how they live, how they save information, how they preserve their culture, how they preserve the nature for us. And I ask, what could be your dream? And the good news is, they had, of course, one of the most inspiring dreams, and the Chief Nishiwaka was hoping to bring 1,000 Amazonian leaders together in his village to sit together, to think about the future of humanity. And we were able to collaborate with the young Yawanawa artists. And these are their beautiful paintings that I believe one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. These are canoes, the graphical representation of their graphical patterns. And they can only generate 13 of them, but they love generative AI. They love our work. And they allowed us to use their work, connect with our 8 years of AI work, and we come up with a project called Winds of Yawanawa. The purpose of project to help Chief Nishiwaka's and Yawanawa people's dreams. And with this project, we also put a weather station that you remember from our projects. And we let this 1,000 piece get a real-time weather data, influence the motion, and generate Winds of Yawanawa. And these projects, all entire proceeds went to the Yawanawa people, and we raised $2.5 million for them. Thank you. Thank you. This project allows them to make their first museum, the first school, and the first village. So there's so much power in generative AI, the technology and beyond, when we use it purposefully. And I'm happy to say that this year, they were the first indigenous leaders accepted to be speaking in the main stage, and their voice is finally heard. And I think ancestral wisdom will bring us an incredible possibilities to respectfully understand what it means to be human and really understand where we are going. And I want to finish my keynote with the words of Chief Nishiwaka. He says, "It's new times we are living now, time for forgiveness, time for love, time for spirituality. It's time for humanity to look back to the origins, to the earth, to our hearts, to learn, to love, respect one another, to make alliances, join the forces." This is the moment. So thank you very much for listening.